Welcome back to the finale of What If Darth Vader Upgraded His Suit. Thank you to those of you who watched the first two parts of this video. To recap what happened in those videos, if you haven't already seen them, Vader got his suit from Kamino, then used it to kill Sidious. As he began his takeover of the galaxy, he started to look for a Sith student, and following a trail of a list of missing Jedi, he travelled to Zapow, where he now faces his old Padawan Ahsoka Tano. Vader stood from the initial attack and detonation, then stretched out his hand to grab the T6 shuttle in the air, which froze Ahsoka as she wrestled the controls. Since the devastation of Order 66, Ahsoka had been reticent in using the Force, but now with little choice, she knew she would struggle to free the ship, so decided to focus it on the missile launchers. Using the Force to release one of the missiles, Vader is thrown back from the blast, and Rex and Cody are given time to jump aboard. Ahsoka and the clones tried to take advantage of Vader's fall to leave, but they found themselves surrounded by Commander Fox's recovered gunships, and Vader orders them to surrender or be killed at once. Ahsoka knew that the Sith was targeting her, given she had been a Jedi, so in a selfless act, she ignored the cries of the clones, and acrobatically soared down to the level of Vader, then whistled for the Varactyl to return. With Vader releasing his grip, the clones used the chaos to fire the remaining missiles and evade the other clones, as Ahsoka collected a fallen Electro Staff and dueled Darth Vader. The fighting style of the Sith felt eerily familiar, and as the shards of Vader's mask fell off from the previous blasts, her moment of realization meant she lowered her staff, and one of the Coruscant guards stunned her, leaving Vader to order for her to be taken to his ship. Above the world, Rex and Cody were alone with the other ships chasing Ahsoka, and the silence cut through the air in their souls, but they knew they couldn't fight a machine such as Vader without the Force. Rex set coordinates for a secret rendezvous location, and during their hyperspace journey, the clone used the astromech and transmission codes that Ahsoka left behind to find Bail Organa. The concerned hologram of Organa flickered into view, and the absence of Ahsoka gave a dilemma for him to think about, given his scheme with Obi-Wan and Yoda. The Senator decided that Ahsoka would be worth the risk, but with Vader and Ahsoka's location unknown, he needed his small network of rebels to hunt it down, before he could even consider asking the Jedi for a rescue effort. Back aboard Vader's ship, the Sith Lord had sensed that there would be enemies wanting to retrieve Ahsoka, so he ordered for Commander Fox to divide the fleet and throw them off course, whilst he boarded his newly built I-Class Star Destroyer. Having ordered for many of Sidious's Sith artifacts to be transferred, he would now use a Force cage that was looted from the era of the Jedi Civil War to detain Ahsoka. As the former Jedi Padawan awoke from her slumber, she felt herself levitating in midair, but the Force restraints denied any thoughts of a getaway, as well as being surrounded by Vader's officers. Before the officers are about to mock her, she is somewhat saved by the Sith Lord himself, and he ordered for his staff to move back to their usual roles, as he extended his hands and felt electricity flowing through him, then shot a lightning attack at his old Jedi Padawan, and now his new Sith student. Ahsoka never felt agony like this in her entire life, and her efforts to resist were futile, as Vader wanted her to suffer for how she had abandoned him when he needed her the most, and show her the limitless dark side powers that she had missed under the Jedi. But the former Jedi continued to resist, with no desire for more power, and Vader would need more time to break her, when a terrified officer stumbled to his side. Vader hid his disgust at the distraction, but the officer revealed that the homing beacon on the T6 shuttle had been a success, and the clones had docked near the Alderaan system in the core worlds. The Sith Lord gazed out of the window at his stars, and resisting the urge to leap into his starfight and chase the shuttle, he decided that he would continue to track their location, sensing that there would be enemies that would try to rescue Ahsoka. Vader's senses had not betrayed him, as Rex and Cody were not willing to wait for Bail Organa and his network, so taking matters in their own hands, they went to search for Obi-Wan. Although they knew Senator Organa wouldn't disclose the Jedi Master's location, they were now on the Tantive 3, and as Organa left for his home on Alderaan, the guards were unmoved as Rex entered the Senator's room with R2-D2. The astromech had stayed behind and understood the intentions of the clones, so used his interface arm to connect to the ship's database, finding that the Jedi had travelled from one of the docks on Nar Shaddaa. The clones did not need to go to the smuggler's moon to know that it was a transit for the world of Tatooine, somewhere that they knew Anakin Skywalker hated. Leaving the dock of Bail Organa's ship, Rex set course for the desert world, continuing to convince himself and Cody that this would be a logical location for the ingenious Jedi Master to hide, but they still had the issue of how to find him on the barren land. Landing on the outskirts of Anchorhead, where they knew that there would be less security, the clones wished they could retain R2-D2, but when they searched for their macro binoculars, they found the droid to be more intelligent than they had thought. A singular data cylinder resided among their stocks, and when they activated the device, they found its coordinates located to the southern border of the Jundland Wastes, and among the Great Chod Soulflower region. Starting the T6 shuttle again, the clones turned in shock at the main monitor, which showed several silhouettes moving closer to their hull, and with their soul missiles already used, Rex and Cody get out to fight. With his shorter range D-70 hand blasters, Rex distracted the ships, which were new variants of the Alpha 3 Nimbus class V-Wing starfighter, whilst Cody mounted his DC-15A blaster rifle and used the hill of a sand dune to deal the killing shots. Such pilots were no match for these veterans, but they knew that they were being tracked, so after removing the homing beacon beneath the ship's hull, they set course for the coordinates that they had been given. As the clones glided across the sand, they could hear a great stirring from behind them, and the settlement of Anchorhead had blared into life, so their battle had not ended. Using the sand to blind the chasing enemies, Rex finally arrived at their coordinates, where they saw a hooded Obi-Wan Kenobi standing outside the moisture farm. Obi-Wan assumed a battle stance at the sight of the clones, but lowered his hood after sensing no threat, and when Cody and Rex got out of the ship, he told them that they should leave immediately. The clones were not deterred, and told the exiled master about the fate of Ahsoka, as well as the existence of Darth Vader, causing the Jedi Master to stroke his beard in thought. Allowing himself a glance at the last home, Obi-Wan didn't know if he had the strength to face his old Padawan again, but he believed that Vader had not been made aware of Luke, so he would be safe at the last home. The Jedi Master was fortunate that he had not followed through with his idea to bury his and Anakin's lightsabers, so he joined the clones before Anchorhead's security force could catch them. When they left the Tatooine system, Bail Organa's hologram arrived in time to give them the coordinates for Vader, which were set for the Sessuena sector. Obi-Wan had studied the area in the Jedi archives, and knew that it had unusual political elections, as well as it being the home of Williff Tarkin, which convinced him they were heading the right way. The Jedi and their clones met with the rebels in the nearby system of Sullust, as they discussed how they would go on to attack the Devastator, and they decided the T6 shuttle would be a decoy, whilst Obi-Wan became one of the squadron, flying over the heavy turbo laser turrets. The small band of rebels all left Sullust, and straight into the skies above Eriadu, then wasted no time in executing their strategy. Amongst the mix of Clone Wars starfighters, Obi-Wan could feel the darkness of Vader, and as his fleet started to draw the fire of their activating turrets, he knew that Vader had wanted him to arrive for a rescue. The Jedi Master allowed the tractor beam to draw him into the docking bay, and with the sound of the battle above fading, he made his move. Showing that he hadn't lost any of his agility, he acrobatically somersaulted onto the ground and drew a flawless arc with his lightsaber around the new soldiers, sending them tumbling several levels. Obi-Wan continued to move through the Star Destroyer, and as he sensed Vader and Ahsoka getting closer, he could feel that Togrutta's resistance to the dark side was flagging, and he considered he would have to fight alone. So before he entered the turbolift, Obi-Wan used the Force to hold on to one of the V-Wing starfighters, circulating above the ship, then threw it into the bridge and the deflector shield generator, which he thought could give the rebels a chance to join his battle. The alarms were immediately screaming around the destroyer, as Obi-Wan moved around the rushing officers and soldiers to the turbolift for a final meeting with Vader. A seemingly endless climb to Vader's floor ended with a juddering halt, and Obi-Wan ignited his lightsaber, then walked into Vader's room. The Sith Lord swiveled from within his chamber, and with his helmet locking onto his suit, stood tall and told Obi-Wan he would finish what he couldn't on Mustafar. Vader moved in a blur, eager to end the duel and show the power of the dark side, but Obi-Wan knew this, and decided to dodge all of Vader's attacks, and frustrate him by not attacking him. As the Sith's rage continued to grow, Obi-Wan was able to activate a series of levers on the wall, and Ahsoka felt herself freed from her restraints. The former Jedi was wavering from light to dark after her torture under Vader, and like her master, she could change the fate of the galaxy. Using the Force to surprise them both and send them into Vader's bacta tank, the gelatinous substance made them slow down, and as they got to their feet, the destroyer was hit by several blasts from a rebel cruiser, and Obi-Wan told Ahsoka to leave, whilst he resisted Vader. Hobbling to the turbo lift, Ahsoka found the rebels had infiltrated the Executor, and Rex carried her to the safety of the rebel fleet. As the other rebels followed, Ahsoka almost fell back to the floor, with the losses of both Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Force, and she suddenly felt a great burden to carry their legacies. With news moving across the galaxy, the civilians started to overthrow their ruling forces, and Bail Organa gathered all of the highest ranking allies to meet at the old reigning embassy in the Cantham House on Coruscant. The new alliance discussed how they would prevent the mistakes made under the old leadership, and after the session, Bail Organa gave Ahsoka the location of Grandmaster Yoda. The exiled Jedi decided to take a less active role in the Jedi Order, but served on the council with survivors such as Eth Koth and Quinlan Voss, who revolutionised the Jedi Code. Although Vader had inflicted a brief flurry of terror, Ahsoka and Rex dedicated their lives to ensure he would be remembered as a hero, rather than what he had become. That is it for What If Darth Vader upgraded his suit. If you'd like to see more What Ifs, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.